And on don't be anxious about anything. It says this. It says, but in every situation by what? Prayer and petition with thanksgiving. This may be the turning point for you. Your disposition determines your direction. This is important. This goes back to that critical thinking, right? By prayer and petition, we would leave this next two words out. With thanksgiving. How many of us complaining about the kids that we asked God for? God, if you could just correct them kids. He goes, I gave them a mom and a dad. I gave them a tribe called the church. We complain about the job we prayed to God for. Your disposition determines your direction. It's important because when we lose our disposition of gratitude, our life is moving in the wrong direction. It doesn't just say by prayer and petition. It says by prayer and petition with thanksgiving. And I think what has happened in the crisis culture that we live in is we've lost our disposition of gratitude. We've lost our ability to see the goodness of God in the world around us. Let me tell you, His goodness is still evident. And we have trained ourselves, go back to this mindset of criticism. We've learned to see what's wrong everywhere. Well, when I see what's wrong, it's hard to be thankful, right? It's like when I give my kids something and they come and they tell me what's wrong with it. Yes, love you, right? What am I angry about is the disposition, right? It's the disposition. And I think we've lost our ability to see the goodness of God in our lives because we don't have a disposition of thankfulness. Now you need to see how this works because we're talking about the war in our mind. The disposition determines the direction. When I lose my disposition of gratitude and I put on the disposition of entitlement, entitlement, I deserve. You know what I deserve? The Bible says my righteousness is as filthy rags. The wages of sin is death. I know what I deserve. Right? But when I put on the disposition of gratitude, I see the world differently. It changes my mind. And the other thing is our default thought about prayer. Right? Our default thoughts about prayer, I'm about to show you how this works scientifically. But our default thoughts about prayer is, well, when all else fails, it's time to pray. Pastor, I got a really bad report. They can't do anything else. Now is the time to pray. I was thinking like all the time was the time to pray. No, now's the time. Listen, my marriage is failing. There's nothing else we can do. Now is the time to pray. Now, I need to open your mind up to this thought process because it's incredibly powerful. If prayer is only crisis response, watch this because it's super good. If prayer is only crisis response, then my prayer life is rooted in negativity because something's always going wrong when I come to pray. Then prayer by nature has a negative response to my brain, which means at all costs I want to avoid prayer because it's not life-giving, it's crisis mode, right? I don't want to be in that space because it's all crisis-oriented. This is why the Bible says, pray continually. Pray continually. You will want to be in the prayer zone if you pray continually. But if your prayer life is rooted in crisis response, you will actually mentally want to avoid prayer because it makes you think about something going wrong. And our prayer lives have become complaint centers where we come to God and we talk about all that's going wrong. Well, I don't know about you, but that's not life-giving to me. You ever sit down with somebody and go, this is all that's going wrong in my life? Oh, I feel refreshed, like a vacation in one day. It was awesome. No, well, we do the same things ourselves with prayer. Now watch how science, it's actually called neurotheology. Y'all didn't know I was bringing the smarts today. I've been off for a couple weeks. I got to get up here and bring the smarts. Neurotheology, or spiritual neuroscience, it studies the relationship between the brain and the belief in God. Now watch this. Dr. Caroline Leaf in the book called Switch on Your Brain says it like this. It has been found that 12 minutes of daily focused prayer over an 8-week period can change the brain to such an extent that it can be measured on a brain scan. I'm about to tie all of this winning the war in your mind together, and I need you to stay with me for the next 3 minutes because it's so important. Did you know that your prayer life literally retrains your brain so much it can be seen on a brain scan? It can be seen on a brain scan. So in other words, literally, now watch this. I hope you see these scriptures that I'm going to read in the next few minutes in a different light. So literally prayer, 12 minutes of prayer, retrains or renews my mind. Literally, physically, on a brain scan. Romans 12:2 says this, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then it has another one of those words, those conjunction words where it joins two thoughts together. It says, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Be transformed by the renewing of the world. Do not conform to the pattern of worry of this world. Do not conform to the pattern of anxiety of this world. Do not conform to the pattern of stress of this world, but be transformed by how do I renew my mind? You got to pray through.